WGPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit. The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
My name is Watson.
And my name is Mariah.
We're 12 years old.
And we're representing Old Redford Academy Middle School.
And we're here to talk about drugs.
Drugs are very dangerous and unhealthy.
And they can also ruin a relationship with your loved ones.
Go talk to a family member, a friend, even a teacher, or you can go to a therapist, or if you need any extra help, you can go online and find all of those.
Hashtag not worth it.
Good afternoon and welcome to Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we have a very, very special guest in the house today, Miss Jadonna Dingus of Margot and Max, and you don't want to miss her words of inspiration, encouragement, and support to those who are in business and those who are thinking about going into business for themselves. But before we get started, our show is live. Our call-in numbers are area code 313-868-0342, 313-868-0351, or 313-868-4336. Our website is www.tv33whpr.com. And you are watching us live from the awesome cities of Highland Park, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Hubert Yap, as well as the phenomenal city of Detroit, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Mike Duggan. And today, a lot of people have seen a lot of businesses that have flourished even through the COVID-19 pandemic. Some businesses did not. But this young lady that's my special guest today, she withstood the test of time. And I mean, she withstood a lot of obstacles that came her way. And one of the obstacles that she faced was when they had the idea to remodel Livernois in the Avenue of Fashion area. And she had her business there, and other businesses that were there because of the tearing up the street to try and go and put an avenue in the Avenue of Fashion. They did not survive because of the mud, the water, and other obstacles that pretty much like the construction that was going on that kept businesses from having the patronage that they were accustomed to having. And Ms. Dingus will talk a little bit more about, what happened when she was there in that area and how she made the decision to uproot her business and move elsewhere. So again, my very special guest today is Miss Jadonna Dingus of Margot and Max. Jadonna, welcome to Expose Under the Sun today.
Thank you, Darwin. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So I am Jadonna Dingus. I am the owner of Margot and Max. We have been in business for 8 years, as you know. Just one small correction. We are in Ferndale. We were on Livernois, but we were in Ferndale. And we did deal with the construction on Livernois as well in Ferndale. and it was very difficult. So we have been in business for 8 years. I started my business at my dining room table 8 years ago with a Facebook page and one pair of earrings.
With a Facebook page and one pair of earrings.
Facebook page and one pair of earrings.
Okay.
There was no financing. There was nothing. I bought my first mannequin using Staples Rewards points. I was up late, and I knew I needed a mannequin, and the spirit said, "Look at, check Facebook." And I was having this internal argument, like, not Facebook, check Staples. I was like, why would I check Staples for mannequins?
Staples, the office supply store.
The office supply store.
Okay.
Why would I check Staples? Just do
For
it.
a mannequin.
For a mannequin.
Okay.
And so I went to Staples.com and looked, and they had mannequins, and I was like, I don't have enough money to buy this mannequin, but I had some Staples Rewards points. So I bought the mannequin with my Staples Rewards points. So that's how I got started. With a Facebook page, one pair of earrings, and a mannequin I bought from Staples.
And what do they say? Necessity is the mother of all invention?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So going to Staples, which
Going
was
to
not the
Staples.
place that you would automatically think to look for a mannequin at.
That's where I bought it. That's where I bought it. And I always say that, I truly believe that all women, but especially black women, we are the founders of the workaround. Because we hear no so much, right?
Say
And
the workaround.
the workaround.
What's that?
We figure out how to work around something.
Oh, okay.
If you
Okay.
hear a no, we figure out how
How
to
to
get
get
to the
around
next level.
it.
Yes,
Okay.
how to get around that no. So I didn't have the money to go lease a space. And so I started at my dining room table. So I had a whiteboard, and I would book appointments on this whiteboard on the hour because I still had a family. I still had things to do. Many times my family would come home at 6 o'clock to be a stranger at the table eating dinner with us because I was like, you want to stay for dinner? And then when I realized that I could not continue to bring strangers into my home because a lot of these people were friends, and the business grew so much, I was like, okay, I've got to find a space. And my mother came over. You heard me talk about my mother. Finally, called her Mamacita. She passed away in December.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But she was one of my biggest cheerleaders. But she came over to my house and was like, shoes and stuff are everywhere. Like, you can't live like this. You gotta. There's still shoes and stuff everywhere, by the way. But not ever just my shoes. But you've got to find a space. And so we looked at this. I started looking at spaces, and it made me really uncomfortable. I didn't want all this overhead. And so then my ex-husband, Daryl, he had a friend.
I think that's so interesting because I know when I first met you and you made that statement that said husband instead of husband.
Yes, because he
So
was
a
my
husband
husband.
is somebody that was a husband.
Yes, he
and
was my
now is
husband.
not currently a
My
husband, but he
right.
was a husband.
He was a husband. Okay, so
So, ladies, you might hear that term mentioned a lot from
Yeah.
Miss Dingus
Yeah.
as she goes and she does business with you. Go ahead.
my husband. So my husband Daryl had a friend who owned a shop in Royal Oak, and he reached out to her. Her name is Marisa, and she had this shop, and she had the second floor was empty, and she said, "Well, why don't you come and do a pop-up?" And so I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea." So we did a pop-up. It was
Now,
wild.
now, explain that to some of the people that might not understand.
What a
you
pop-up
hear that
is.
term pop up.
Sure.
Explain that.
Okay, so what a pop-up is basically you're taking your wares somewhere else. You're popping up. You're showing up in this space. It is not a permanent space. You're not leasing a space. You're there for a temporary period, a set amount of time. So it may be one day. Sometimes people pop up in spaces for a month or two. But this was just a weekend pop-up. So we just did like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of thing in Royal Oak. And it was wildly successful. I was shocked at how many people came out. And then she said, well, let's do it every month. So we set it up, and I was going to do a pop-up every month. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of work because you're taking everything to this, remote location.
So you got
setting
to
up.
unpack,
Yes.
set it up.
Yes.
Then you got to pack everything back up and then take
right.
it back home.
Right. And ideally, you don't want it to look like you just, kind of threw things together. So you want to stage it, right? So you want to have your decor, and all of those things so that people really feel like they're walking into a showroom or walking into a store. And so we set it all up. And I'm very fortunate that my husband is an architect. So he's pretty creative. And then between the two of us, a lot of times I'll come up with an idea and he helps me figure out how to execute it. Because I come up with some crazy ideas. Can we hang this from here? And he figures out if it'll fit, right? So between the two of us, we staged the space, and friends came and helped. I have some great friends. They show up to hang, steam, whatever I need. So we set the space up, and we did a really great job, and sales were awesome. And then we decided that we were going to do a pop-up every month. But in between the first pop-up and the next pop-up, the building sold. Yeah, her building sold, and she had the building on the market for a little while and hadn't gotten any bites, but it sold really fast. So she said, we can't do the pop-up. So then I was like, oh my goodness, how am I gonna do this? Because I'd already advertised the pop-up. But there was a building in Grosse Pointe Park where I was living at the time, and this church bought the building, and they had a coffee shop. And they had advertised that space as being a space where you could rent the space out for baby showers or bridal showers and things of that nature for parties. So I reached out to the pastor and asked if I could lease the space for that weekend that we were going to do this pop-up. And she said, yes, just give a love offering to the church. So we popped up in that space, and it really worked out for both of us because the church, they had a little cafe, and it wasn't super busy, and they sold out that weekend. So they were really pleased, too. And then she mentioned that they had office space for lease above the coffee shop. Do you want to lease a space? And I was, oh, no, I'm good. Because I didn't want the overhead. And so that fear is real. And then I said, well, how much is it? And then when she told me how much the rent was, it was minimal.
So the fear that you had was what?
The fear that you had is getting in over your head. I mean, I think that's the fear that people have when they start a business. Am I going to get in over my head? Fear of failure. I mean, that's the fear.
So how are the ways that you identified what the fear was?
Yes.
And then how did you develop that stick-to-itiveness to go ahead on and overcome the fear and not look back?
I'm just kind of stupid.
No, you are far from that.
Thank you. But I didn't, I said, when I asked how much the rent was, she said it was $300 a month. I was like, I can make $300. Okay, well, I can do that in my sleep. Okay, I'm good. I mean, this coming from, I was a paper girl at 12. That was my very first job. And I got that job because I wanted a pair of shoes. My mother told me no. I was like, she said, go make your own money. Well, I'm 12. What can I do? A 12-year-old girl. She said, go get a paper route. So I went down to the paper station, talked to the manager of the paper station. He said, you can't get it unless, a paper route unless your parents sign for it. So I said, Mom, will you sign this piece of paper? And she signed it, and I got a paper route. So I'm not good at hearing no. I'm very much like, I'm going to turn this no into a yes. And so even to myself, I was like, you know what? I can do 300. I can do that in my sleep. So I signed the lease. We leased the space. The space was hideous. We went in, we painted it and redid the space and made it a really beautiful space. But it was on a second floor, and everybody told me I was crazy. You're on the second floor, you don't have any street frontage, nobody will know you're there. And those were all obstacles that were real, but not to me. I was like, I know enough people, and people like what I have, and I can do this. And so I did not set out with all of these fears, other people's fears and other people's obstacles that they created for me. I did not accept them. This is the second floor. Yeah, it is what it is. So we're going to make this real exclusive. So we had a sign on the door that said call for entry. And people would call and say, I'm downstairs. What is this? Because they were just curious. And I would say, it's a clothing store. Well, can I come in? And, we go downstairs and let people in. It was unusual. And we were only open Friday and Saturday. And we did special events like parties. And again, people told me, other retailers, you're crazy. I mean, that's not going to work. And we did that for 2 years, and it was successful. And then the building...
just 2 days a week?
Just 2 days a week for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And by special event, I would have parties, birthday parties and things like that. Or like we did I'd have special types of events. Like we had an event we called Shoe Boo. Come buy your Shoe Boo. Come fall in love with a pair of shoes. So we did that. We would do things like that. And then that building sold. And then we had to find another location. So my husband at the time, he was working for an architecture firm, and the owner of the firm had a little black house in Ferndale on Livernois, and it was available. So he said, do you want to come take a look at it? I said, no, just tell him I'll take it. He said, you haven't even seen it. I was like, it's in Ferndale. I mean, Ferndale's very business friendly, and I didn't realize that part of Livernois was kind of a ghost town, like tumbleweeds rolling down the street ghost town at that time. But I still was not deterred. So I was like, yeah, let's take it. So we took the space, we got in there, we painted it, we decorated it and all of that, and we opened in 2016. Business initially was, kind of slow. We were working at it. And again, I was open Thursday 5 to 8, Friday 1 to 9, and Saturday 11 to 5. People told me I was crazy. You can't be open only 3 days a week. You can't, run a business like that or by appointment. You just can't do it. And I was like, this is how I'm going to do this. And so we opened in that location in 2016. In 2017, Georgia Cavonis from the Detroit Free Press came in one evening when my daughter India and I were prepping for a pop-up. We were doing a pop-up downriver, a vintage pop-up. And so it was at like a fairgrounds. So we were packing all the stuff up. So we had IKEA bags everywhere with merchandise. And I thought the store looked crazy. And so she walked in. And I did what I normally did. I had no idea who she was. I read her column, but sometimes seeing people in person, they look different than a photograph. And so she came in. And I said, "Hi, welcome to Margot and Max." And I showed her around. That's what we normally do. I showed her where the little black dresses live, where all the vintage stuff was, the couture, all the high-end stuff. And then she walked to the back of the store and came back to the front. And she said, "I have to tell you, I don't like resale shops." And I was like, okay. And she said, "But it's beautiful in here and it smells good." And it's, all the things all the reservations you would have about going into a resale shop. It's clean, it smells nice, and everything is clean and organized. This is really nice. And I said, "Thank you." And then she said, "I have to tell you, I'm a reporter for the Free Press. I want to do a story on you." So she did the story, and it just blew us up. Like, people were standing at the door when I got to work every day, blew us up. It was nuts. And then we were on Live in the D from that story, and it just blew us up all over again. And so we were very busy in that location. I did a lot of special events, parties.
And all this was back in 2016.
This was back in 2016.
Okay.
And parties and things like that. But then the city of Ferndale, I heard these rumblings that there was going to be construction on Livernois, and from neighboring businesses. And I was like, surely the city would come and talk to us. They wouldn't just decide, set up to create this plan to do construction and not notify
the business
owners. And then maybe about 30 days later, I received a notice, and I went to this meeting. And I'm in this meeting, and they're talking about all the things they were going to do, and they're going to put in bike lanes, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be really nice. And I was like, but that you do realize that's going to impact us, because I didn't have a parking lot or anything like that. I only had on-the-street parking in the location I was in, because it was a converted house. It had been a residential home, and then in the back of the house there was a garage, and the garage was a gym.
Okay.
So there was a gym, Body Morph at the time, and then Margot Max was in the front. And so they did construction, and it was brutal. The first Friday, we had 0 sales. I've never had a 0 sale day. And I was like, am I going to survive? I'm not going to survive. And
now, how do you promote your business?
how did I promote it?
Right.
So the bulk of my business, when I said I started with a Facebook page and one pair of earrings, now I have a Facebook page and a lot of earrings. I still mostly do business on Facebook.
Okay.
I don't take out ads and things like that. A lot of this word of mouth, and which is the best advertisement ever, right? Because people don't generally bring their mothers and their sisters and their daughters to people that they don't respect,
Right.
or that they don't feel valued by. So that's a lot of my business. But I do get a lot of business from Facebook and Instagram, but mostly Facebook. So during that time, I was telling people we're open, but when you're getting calls from your customers saying, "I would stop, but I can't find a parking space," that's a problem. And so I went to the city along with a neighboring business owner. This gentleman, Mr. Lotz, he was a dance instructor whose business was on Livernois also. And so we went to the city and said, there's all these vacant lots. Why doesn't the city lease some of the lots and do like Uber drives or like ride sharing, or offer valet? So the city, we convinced the city to pay for valet service. So the city was paying for valet, and people could pull up, and there was staging at the restaurant next door. So that's kind of how I do have to give it to them, because I was pretty upset with the city of Ferndale. I was like, these people are not like, I believed in you guys, and I thought you believed in me. But I have to give it to them. They were very responsive to everything that we asked for. and they made sure that we were going to be okay. So after the construction seemed like it took forever, and it was happening during that. They had like a strike, and the construction workers weren't working on anything in the state. Because some of the same crews that were working on state projects were working on that project as well. So it was really tough, but I got through it, and I think a big part of it was really thinking outside the box and doing things that are outside the box. Like I scheduled parties. I made sure that I had a party scheduled every Saturday. And so the way that the parties go, you have a hostess. We would set it up. I'm really, I'm super bougie, so nobody's coming with red Solo cups. We have real wine glasses and real china and all of that stuff. And we have little hors d'oeuvres, and they can invite their girlfriends to come and shop. And we would, we would set everything up. I played all the food, and we'd set it up really nicely. And they come, after the store closed. We closed at 5 o'clock on Saturdays. The parties would start at 6, and then sometimes, they run to about 10 or 11 o'clock. But many times I'd have to say, okay, I need y'all to leave. Because they were having so much fun, they didn't want to leave. We had a party, and my niece I started taking all the hors d'oeuvres and stuff into the kitchen and, capping the wine and all of that. She's like, Auntie, people are still eating. I was like, no, ma'am, no, it's 11:30. They need to go home. But we just created this environment, and it was not something that I set out to do. It happened organically where people come together. We had a group of ladies at the Livernois location that we called the Friday Night Crew. And so they would show up every Friday night, and these women met in the shop and shop. And they would hang out and enjoy hors d'oeuvres and wine. And it's a low-pressure situation. They come in and sit down. You can update your Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is and just hang out. My mom was there one day. She's like, these people aren't shopping, baby. They're just here to eat your food. And I was like, no, they're going to shop. Because there was never that pressure. I want people to, Margot Max is not just about buying stuff. It's really about an experience. And it's about building relationships with people. And it's about helping people feel beautiful in what they wear. And it's about people not going bankrupt trying to look cute, because being broke is not cute.
So now you describe the type of merchandise that you have there.
Okay, so we carry everything from the cutest of the cute, Forever 21, that may look like it's Betsey Johnson. Mm-hmm. So Betsey Johnson is a designer that shows a lot of fun stuff, colorful, really bright colors and patterns and really funky stuff. So we may have some actual Betsey Johnson, but we may have some stuff from fast fashion store, Forever 21, that looks like it could be Betsey Johnson, all the way up to your high-end stuff by Detroit's own Cass Tech graduate Tracy Reese. We carry a little bit of everything, but it's mainly, we don't carry pants. When I first started, I had everything, but you can't be all things to all people. So we had suits and sweaters and blouses and jackets and all of that. People don't wear suits as much anymore to work. So we started phasing things out. And as we began to grow, and I began to sit down and look at the numbers, because I know my numbers, but I'm not a person who walks around quoting all the numbers. I have friends who do that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just not that person. But I understand that it's important to be able to look at and analyze what, your numbers. And so when I looked at the numbers, I determined that our number one seller was dresses. Mm-hmm. Dresses, jewelry, and handbags. And so those are the things that we carry. So we skip all of that other stuff, pants, skirts, all of that, we phased out.
So now when you look at the sizes, because we've only got about 5 minutes left, the sizes, you cater to what sizes? We
cater to sizes 0 through 26W. So sizes 0, the small, smallest on the women's missus size, to 26W on the women's size. So we carry all sizes. We cater to all sizes. We carry all sizes because people come in all sizes. People come in all shapes and sizes.
So before I ask you to give your location, just briefly tell what the Margot and Max experience is. So when somebody comes to shop, I know you're saying you sometimes, may have a little, with the wine or,
yes,
cheese and things like that. But how do they select the items?
Well, so things have changed a lot, obviously, due to COVID. So, we moved from the Livernois location. We're at 9 Mile in Woodward now. Mm-hmm. We expanded. We went from 750 square feet at Livernois to 3,000 square feet at 9 Mile in Woodward. We opened in on March 7th at our 9 Mile location. Due to the pandemic, we closed on March 15th. We've been closed ever since. But we are very much still in business. We offer shopping via Facebook Live. So we have 5 mannequins, Maxine, Max, Margot, LB, and Amber, who model the clothing. And we put the clothing on the mannequins so that people can see how the clothing fits.
And you have special guests to actually clothe the mannequins.
Yes, so we have guest co-hosts. We've had Mayor Kelly Garrett on, as you know Kelly, she's a friend of yours.
Right.
We have Mayor Piana from the city of Ferndale on. We have everyday people. Kim Trent has been on, who works for Governor of Whitmer. And I have friends who come and help with the live too. So we had Denitra Gregory last weekend. She's a stylist, a friend of mine. So we have a lot of fun people come and help with the live this week. We have Tanisha Johnson coming in. She's an author. Tanita Johnson. She's coming in. She's an author. She's written several great books. So yes, they come in and style the mannequins, and they put the things on the mannequins. We roll them out for the live. We describe the item, give the size, the price, and we may give some styling tips during the live. So that's the way that we're doing business now. And then folks can pick up during curbside pickup. We do curbside pickup on Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
You just recently had another friend of mine, Cheryl Harvey.
Yes, I love Cheryl.
That also was one of your guests.
Yes, she's been a guest co-host a couple of times. Yes, Cheryl is awesome. Yeah, I love her. And Tina Michelle, she's a good friend of mine. She comes and does the live. Michelle Burden. So we have a great lineup of guest co-hosts last week, and she'll be this week on Fridays. My daughter India, Ladybug Dingus, she's guest co-hosted. So, and we had some gentlemen guest co-host as well.
Okay.
My friend Charles Martin, who's a singer, he came and guest co-host. That was a lot of fun. Marcus Turner came and guest co-host.
So I'm waiting for my turn then.
You can come on. Come on.
So you
Come
just
on and
strictly
guest
just
co-host.
do women's clothing.
We only do women's clothing because women shop when they're happy, when they're sad,
Okay.
when we gain weight, when we lose weight. The pandemic has caused a lot of people to, I call it, have a little chocolate chip cookie department, that little midsection.
Okay.
And so, and women shop different from men. Men will buy something and wear it till it's threadbare. And women aren't like that. Now, my husband is not that guy. He loves clothes. And that,
Okay.
the people that I mentioned, Marcus loves clothes, I know. Charles definitely loves clothes. But men don't shop like women. But I did have a client who reached out, a client, her name is Kim Cologne. Her husband, Dave, had an interview, and I hope you got that job, Dave. But he reached out and said, hey, can you help me find a suit? So I took him shopping last week and helped him find a suit. And I made him buy like 5 ties. I was like, you need this tie and that tie and this tie.
Well,
So you can have different
let's
looks.
hope he got that job then. So
Look, we did it on a shoestring. 'Cause,
right.
Being
So
broke
now,
ain't cute.
give your location.
Yes,
before we close.
Yes, we're at 224. We're at 224 West 9 Mile in Ferndale. We're between Woodward and Livernois. Big picture. And again, we do a Facebook Live every Thursday from 8 p.m. to about 10:30, and every Friday. So Thursdays and Fridays at 8 o'clock, we're Margot, Margaux, and Max. And you can find us on Facebook, and we're also on Instagram, Margaux and Max.
So before we close, just give your quick 30-second, what's your inspiration that you would give to somebody who was aspiring to start a business?
Anybody who's thinking about starting a business, do it. Find a mentor. Find somebody who is in business doing what you want to do. Don't ask your brother who shines shoes. There's nothing wrong with shining shoes. I need to go to Morrison's because they do a great job. But don't find someone who doesn't do what you do to mentor you. Find someone who does what you do. Okay, so that they can give you the ins and outs. There's so many things that I had to learn on the fly, but I have friends like Rachel Lutz, who owns the Peacock Room, who are amazing and who were able to help me not be embarrassed about what I did not know, because there's so many things that you aren't going to know.
Well, give your location one more time before we close.
Sure, it's 224 West 9 Mile in fabulous Ferndale. We're between Livernois and Woodward. Okay.
Great. You'll have to come back again,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
probably we'll have to have me to tell my experience if I get a chance to come and be a special guest there.
Oh, you are definitely
and talk
gonna,
about that
yes!
experience then at the
That's gonna
same
be
time.
fun. I'm looking forward to it.
But you have been enlightened by my special guest today, Jadonna Dingus, Margot and Max. And if you'd like to go and find out more information about her, go on her Facebook page. But also, too, we have been very, very blessed to have been sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. And if you'd like to advertise in the Detroit Native Sun News, you can contact Ms. Valerie Lockhart at area code 313-457-5944. And you can find copies of the Detroit Native Sun News in a lot of the local stores and businesses around in the area. Again, thank you, Jadonna Dingus, for
Thank
being my
you.
special guest. We'd
You're
love to
welcome.
have you back on again.
Absolutely, I'll come back anytime.
Please do. Please do.
And we are going to hold him to being a guest co-host on the
Please,
live.
please do.
You all heard it here first.
So I can tell
look
my
for him.
experience at the same time.
I can't wait.
Again, thank you for watching us. Stay tuned. We're coming back next week again with another special guest as well, too. Have a great rest of the afternoon.